Hello, and welcome back to our journey through the Bible. Today, we arrive at a pivotal, deeply human, and frankly, quite messy chapter, Genesis 16. This is a story about waiting, about doubt, and about the sometimes painful consequences of taking matters into our own hands. Let's set the scene. 10 long years have passed since God first promised Abram, now called Abraham, that he would be the father of a great nation. 10 years. Imagine the weight of that promise and the silence that followed. Abraham is 85, and his wife, Sarai, later known as Sarah, is 75. From a human perspective, the biological window for having children has slammed shut. The chapter opens with Sarai's desperation. She says to Abram, "Look, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Now, this might sound shocking to our modern ears, but in their culture, this was a recognized, albeit complicated, social custom. A wife who couldn't have children might give her servant to her husband to bear a child on her behalf. Legally, that child would be considered the wife's. Sarai isn't just suggesting something random. She's trying to solve a problem using the tools her culture provided. And Abram? The text says simply, Abram agreed to what Sarai said. He listens to his wife. There's no indication that he consults God, no moment of prayer asking if this is the right path. He just agrees. It's a stark reminder of how easily we can sideline God when we're faced with a seemingly impossible situation and a seemingly practical solution. So Sarai gives her Egyptian servant Hagar to Abram, and just as they planned, Hagar conceives. But this is where the human element really kicks in, and the plan begins to unravel. The moment Hagar knows she is pregnant, the power dynamic shifts. The text says, she began to despise her mistress. Hagar, the servant, now has something the mistress, Sarai, desperately wants but cannot have. Pride and contempt enter the picture. Sarai, feeling the sting of this contempt, is filled with bitterness. She turns on Abram, blaming him. "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering," she cries. "I put my servant in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me." It's a classic case of blame shifting. This was Sarai's plan from the start, but now that it's producing bitter fruit, she can't bear the responsibility. Abram, for his part, completely washes his hands of the situation. He tells Sarai, "Your servant is in your hands. Do with her whatever you think best." He steps back, abdicating his responsibility as the head of the household and as the father of the unborn child. He essentially gives Sarai permission to do her worst. And Sarai does. She mistreats Hagar so severely that Hagar, pregnant and alone, flees into the desert. This is a desperate act. The desert is a place of death, especially for a lone woman. She runs toward Shur, which is on the way back to her home country, Egypt. She's trying to escape, to go home, but she's running into a vast, unforgiving wilderness. This is the lowest point in the story. A broken family, a desperate plan gone wrong, and a vulnerable woman running for her life. But this is also where God steps in, not in the tents of the wealthy patriarch and matriarch, but in the wilderness with the outcast. The angel of the Lord finds Hagar near a spring in the desert, and the first thing he says to her is, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" He calls her by name, acknowledging her identity and her situation. He knows who she is and who she belongs to. This isn't just a random encounter, it's a divine appointment. Hagar, in her distress, can only state the obvious. "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai." Then the angel gives her a command that must have been incredibly difficult to hear. "Go back to your mistress and submit to her. Go back to the source of your pain. Go back to the abuse." This sounds harsh, but it's coupled with a powerful promise, a promise that echoes the one given to Abram. The angel says, "I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count." And he continues, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery." Let's pause here. This is huge. Ishmael means God hears. In her moment of utter despair, when she felt completely alone and unheard, God heard her. He saw her affliction. He doesn't just offer a solution. He gives her son a name that will be a permanent reminder of God's faithfulness in her darkest hour. The angel also gives a prophecy about Ishmael. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers. This prophecy has unfolded over millennia, describing the often nomadic and conflict-ridden history of Ishmael's descendants. It's a realistic, not a romanticized picture of the future. Overwhelmed by this encounter, Hagar gives a name to the Lord who spoke to her. She calls him El Roi, which means the God who sees me. She exclaims, "I have now seen the one who sees me." Think about that. The outcast, the abused servant, is the very first person in the Bible to give God a name. Not Abraham, not Sarai, but Hagar. In her suffering, she experiences a profound and personal revelation of God's character. He is not a distant deity. He is the God who sees. Hagar obeys. She returns to Abram and Sarai's camp. And when the time comes, she gives birth to a son. The chapter concludes with Abram naming his son Ishmael, just as the angel had commanded Hagar. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. So what do we take away from this complex story? First, we see the danger of helping God out. Sarai and Abram had a promise, but their lack of faith and patience led them to a human solution that caused immense pain and conflict that would ripple through generations. It's a powerful lesson in waiting on God's timing, even when it feels impossible. Second, we see God's incredible compassion for the marginalized. When everyone else failed Hagar, Sarai, who used and abused her, and Abram, who abandoned her, God met her in her place of desperation. He saw her, heard her, and gave her a future and a hope. No one is invisible to God. No cry for help goes unheard. And finally, we are introduced to El Roi, the God who sees. Whatever wilderness you might be in today, whatever pain you might be running from, remember Hagar's story. You are not invisible. Your suffering is not unseen. The same God who met a desperate servant by a spring in the desert sees you, right where you are. He is the God who hears. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this powerful chapter. It is a story that reminds us of our own human frailties, but also points us to the boundless compassion of our God. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next step in this incredible journey. We'd love to have you with us. See you next time.